obviously have known you for a long time
Yeah.
because we go way back to 2000, what was it? 2002, 2003, back at ISU. Same fraternity. That's how we met. Obviously, stayed pretty close over the years. Although now with kids and jobs and families and businesses, haven't seen that much of each other. Um, but I always like to let people know ahead of time. If we know each other
Yeah.
pretty well.
Full
Um,
disclosure. Yeah.
yeah, and we won't tell any stories of college days or anything like that.
That's what
But
I was going to do the whole time, but I guess if we won't, we won't.
yeah, we'll block off another hour and a half to
Yeah.
tell embarrassing stories about each other. Yeah, and so this podcast, I mean, this episode will be a little bit different than some of the other ones I've done because I've started talking to a lot of people who are starting businesses in FamTech, which is sort of a relatively new category of companies, and it's not just parenting and kids, and it's actually not just tech. So the two parts of the name FamTech, it actually kind of extends beyond that. But a lot of the companies I talk with are people who have founded businesses that work with families in some way, whether it's from first breath of getting pregnant and having kids, or last breath of like taking care of like aging family members and caregiving and sort of everything in between. And so I think that this episode will be a little different because your business kind of started out, as a side hustle. You have a full-time job, and you started this pretty successful business on the side, which it just keeps growing and growing from everything that I've gathered. Foam Party All Stars. You want to give just kind of the quick, I mean, it's fairly obvious from the name, but you want to give kind of the quick overview of what the business is?
Yeah, so we are a mobile foam party business geared towards kids parties. So we bring a foam party setup, complete with music and speakers, our professional grade foam cannons. We bring it all to kids' birthday parties and block parties on the weekends, and then during the week, everything from daycares, summer camps, school events, library, summer reading kickoffs, which I never thought would be a thing for foam parties, but it is. And a few other categories from there. But so we, depending on how many kids are there, we bring however many foam cannons are needed to make enough foam to make it exciting for the kids. The kids just enjoy dancing around in it and exploring the foam and playing with their friends in it. And it's been a big hit. It's been a lot bigger, grown a lot bigger than I thought it would when I initially started out. And it continues to grow each year.
Yeah. So that's a good segue. Let's sort of back up a little bit in your story. So, and actually even farther back to, when we kind of met at Illinois State University, you knew, I think pretty much right away, right? You were going to school to be a teacher. You wanted to be a teacher from the get-go, right?
Yeah. So I obviously graduated from Illinois State and pretty much immediately got a job as an elementary PE teacher out here in Oswego, Illinois. And I have been here teaching in elementary school this will be the start of my 19th school year,
Wow.
coming up in a week already coming back. So yeah, so I've been a teacher for quite a while now, but I always have a side hustle. I have a hard time sitting still in the summers, even though now I have 3 young kids that keep me busy. Prior to this, I sold on Amazon and eBay, everything from started out selling used suits from thrift stores, which was an experience. Actually, had a couple good years doing that, but it was hard to scale that type of business because you have to actually drive to a location and try to find the
Yeah.
inventory. Then I kind of jumped to selling on Amazon right around the COVID crisis. I figured out that a lot of people were looking for above ground pools, not like the huge ones that you might buy at a professional pool store, but ones that they might sell at your neighborhood stores that
Hmm.
large. and there was a shortage of them because so many people wanted to be outside and due to COVID, and so there was a shortage of them. So the prices skyrocketed, supply and demand type thing. So I would hunt down those pools and drive around and find them, and I would buy them for maybe $250 and sell them for $1,000 on Amazon. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, it was good while it lasted, but eventually COVID kind of died down, and there wasn't as much demand,
Yeah.
and so it was easier for people to find them at their neighborhood stores.
Yeah. So for people who don't, have teachers that are, friends or family members, I mean, that's obviously very common for teachers when you have usually summers off, and that's a time when you're, not working. And I think it's like very common. Like a lot of teachers are always kind of looking for side gigs, side hustles, part-time jobs. I know a lot of teachers who are, they'll do, tutoring and stuff that's like kind of pretty obvious for teachers, picking up,
Hmm.
some stuff to stay busy in the summer. How, and I'm just curious, like when you started teaching, how quickly was that the kind of thing that you were looking into? Is it, I imagine maybe for a little while, it's just kind of nice, like, oh man, I got the whole summer off. This is great. But at what point did you kind of like feel the itch of like, okay, I gotta try to build something or do something? You obviously tried different things, but what was that like?
Yeah, I guess immediately when I started teaching, I was coaching high school football, and then I was teaching driver's ed in the summer, which definitely some stories with that. It was only the behind the wheel portion, so I'm still alive to tell the tale about it. But once I met my wife, that I kind of stopped. I stopped coaching, and driver's ed job wasn't around anymore. They kind of eliminated some positions. It was in a different school district than I teach in during the year. So then I went to the eBay and then Amazon. And then when I initially was looking to start up another business, I was looking at the bounce house business, like inflatable rentals. I did like a deep dive into that and realized a few things. Number one, it's super saturated in that business, and number two, the insurance floor when you just start there's like a floor of maybe like $5,500 a year. So if you're starting out with a couple bounce houses, that's kind of a lot to make up,
Yeah.
um, and it kind of the insurance rose a lot in the year or two before I started looking at starting that business. I also ran it by my wife, and she said no. So I was like, okay. And then in looking at bounce house businesses, there are some bounce house businesses in the southern states, California, Florida, Arizona, Florida, that also do foam parties, which I had
Hmm.
never heard of for kids. So started looking into that and thought, okay, I mean, I have a lot of experience with kids. This looks like something I can definitely start. I looked in my area here in Chicagoland, and there was just one other place that was doing it at the time. They're kind of up close to you. They are the north side of Chicago, which is about 50 miles from where I live in
Hmm.
Oswego. So I thought, well, if those are the only two businesses doing it right now that I could find that seemed to be established, or that's the only one at the time, maybe this looks like a good opportunity. So uh, I asked my wife. She said, okay, that's interesting. Maybe tell me more about that. Like, I think she was intrigued
Yeah.
or thought I was crazy, one or the other, maybe both. But so ended up, the more I looked into it, the more I felt like it was a good opportunity. So um, started out gathering information, and then bought one set of foam party equipment, and then from there, made my website, which I did on my own. Honestly, I probably should have just paid some money for somebody to do that, but uh, you know, Wix is looked down upon by a lot of people, but it got me a cheap start. So, but then I, started marketing it. I started out like January, February, mailing out some snail mail postcards to every daycare, summer camp, elementary school, library that I could
Hmm.
find within like a 40-mile radius or so. And much to my surprise, I started getting phone calls pretty much right when that postcard hit.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it was kind of like a fake it till you make it situation, because I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I was in a Facebook group of people around the country that did this, so I tried to get as much knowledge as I could, but um, started booking daycares and summer camps right from that initial postcard. And when I realized that it seemed to be, successful, I bought another setup before I even did any phone parties, because I felt like I wanted to be able to scale it and have somebody else run some of the parties as well. And my goal for that first year was to do 100 phone parties, and I think we did like 240 plus. Uh, kept buying more setups and expanding, um, and it was, I also did some other marketing, some Facebook ads, and I don't remember if I had Google ads running at that point or not, but those were and then also posting in community groups. I used my wife's Facebook account. Hopefully Meta doesn't see this and, deactivate both of us, but blacklist us. But to post in like moms groups, which actually had a pretty good response at the time, about kids' birthday parties and block parties, and just kind of kept rolling. And it was just trying to manage the growth and find enough people to work the parties, to satisfy the demand.
Yeah. So so you're saying the first year that you were doing it, and I'm guessing it's a seasonality to it because it's probably mostly outdoors, right? I mean,
Yeah, I only do outdoors.
yeah.
I've had some like bars and stuff contact me about indoors, but there's just different issues with that, with drainage and, the electrical.
Hmm.
I just, it's not worth it. We're already busy enough,
Yeah.
so I just say no for those. Yeah, so there's definitely a seasonality to it. Uh, I think that first year we started a few parties on like the weekends in early May, but it starts slow, and then as it gets hotter and hotter, July and August are crazy. That's when most people want to do their phone parties, just because they feel confident that it's going to be hot enough.
Hmm.
And then once September rolls around, we do some on the weekends, but it kind of slows down. And then October we do a handful, and then nobody wants to try to
Yeah.
bet on the weather at that point.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like you pretty much exceeded whatever your expectations were for that first season.
Hmm.
What do you attribute that to? Is it luck? Is it the sort of the fake it till you make it? Like you put yourself out there as sort of this very polished, established kind of provider of entertainment. What do you point to as the reason for it kind of taking off so quick?
I think a few things. Number one, I think it's a very good area here in the Chicago suburbs. It's a fairly wealthy area, to start a business in, and I don't think a lot of the places that I was sending these postcards to start had seen anything like it. I'm not sure that the other business was doing something similar. They may have been, but it didn't seem like it from the responses. So I think just the novelty of something new, especially with like the daycare directors, they're always, pretty much most daycares around here do like once a week, they do something they call water days. So foam parties fits perfectly into a day like that for them. They don't have to load everybody onto a bus and take them to another location, which is very pricey. So I think they like the idea of somebody coming to them to provide entertainment for the kids. So that was part of it. I think just being in a great area for it. The other thing is just not a lot of competition at the time. The market was definitely not flooded. It's one of those things that most people, even still, have not heard of. They don't know what a phone party is. Or they went to one in college and it was a very different thing than what we're doing with the kids. So I think those two things were a big reason. Part of that is just opportunity, the position that we're in, the place that we live, and not a lot of competition. And then I think just marketing it correctly. Um, I wouldn't have thought that snail mail postcards would be effective, because when I get the mail, I pretty much don't even look at those types of things, and I just toss them in the garbage a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think for organizations, it is definitely, they don't just toss it in the garbage. They actually take a look at it more so than you do at home when you're getting, grocery ads every
Yeah.
day of the week. So those things were a great kickstart. And I think once we did a lot of daycares and summer camps and people saw what the parties were, we ended up getting birthday parties and block parties off of that. So we hired a voiceover artist during our parties, that we have different things like the countdown to the phone party. They do a rules of the phone party all over the speakers. We also have a part where it's like a promo where it says, "Do you want a party like this at your house? We can come to daycare, summer camps, birthdays, block parties. Come see your phone party leader for a business card." And we get a lot of business just from people that see it and they're like, "This is cool. Oh, I can do it at my house. That's awesome." Because to a certain extent, you have some people have to kind of see it to understand uh, how cool it is for the kids. If you don't see it, it's a little harder to sell. Now, granted, the postcards did work, but I think seeing it ends up leading to more sales on our end, and then it's kind of a snowball effect. And then with the daycares, there's a lot of chain daycares, and they might have 30 to 70 locations for the bigger ones in Chicagoland. And if you do a good job for one or two of them, they'll tell the other ones in the area, and then the next year you end up getting a lot more of those chain daycares, and it just kind of spreads that way. So I think those things are um, a good reason for our growth. I, from what I can tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's the timing of this is it's so funny because I just I think posted something on LinkedIn about word of mouth, like the idea of just like word of mouth marketing. A lot of people think that it's just sort of magically like happens or it doesn't happen. And like if it does, you're just you kind of get lucky and you take advantage of it. But I think most of the time, like word of mouth is a result of like very intentional uh, creating like a great customer experience, or even some of the marketing that you do. It basically sets you up or sets up your your customers to kind of participate in the word of mouth marketing. So it's nothing really happens by accident. Um, uh, and although I guess sometimes it can, like you can just like grow because the right person came to an event and they told someone, and then before you know it, it spreads. But most of the time I think it is like very intentional, putting stuff in place so that you can kind of take advantage of it. um, it sounds like you kind of had that approach. Was that was that something you thought about, like even going way back to when you said you were like just starting to look at the information that you could find of similar businesses, what even just like imagining what the business could look like? Were you thinking about like some of the marketing back then, or was it more just kind of like, oh, here's the opportunity, it's enough for me to get started? Like how much of that did you sort of treat it like like an actual like business plan?
Yeah, so I would love to say that I thought of all this myself, but I found a Facebook group of people that do this around the country,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned a lot from. There's somebody based out of Arizona who, from what I understand, is like the largest kids phone party business in the country. I think they
Mm.
do like 900 plus events a year. Granted, their season is a lot longer, but that's still, it's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually put videos on this group of like how to market, like hour-long videos, and like I looked at that and I was like, I mean, I'm not going to try to recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to follow exactly what he does. And I pretty much did that, and it definitely worked. And another thing, and this wasn't true like the first season, but I was, I tried really hard to get Google reviews. The other phone party business that is up north in Chicago, at the time, they didn't have hardly any Google reviews, even though they had been open for a few years. And I think obviously with SEO type stuff, that kind of catapults you in the search if your competitor doesn't have many reviews. So that definitely helps maybe towards the middle to end of the first season and on to the next season.
Yeah. And then as you're kind of like getting started, and doing, it sounds like lots of these like events right out of the gate. Were there any times where you had like a specific memory of a conversation with someone from the daycare, or a conversation with a parent, or something where you're like, okay, I'm face to face with basically with my target audience. What are some things that I could, ask them questions, learn from, pull out, gain some insights from just being around them, that you kind of were able to take and go, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to maybe file that away. That's going to help me with marketing or making the events better. Can you think of anything that happened kind of early on?
Yeah, so I ask for feedback from after every party, and kind of ask for a Google review at the same time. But a lot of times I don't get any specific feedback. Sometimes I do, and I try to take that into account. Um, when I talk to daycare directors, I really try to say, hey, if you had a great experience, tell the other daycares of this chain in the area, and that they do that. Like because I mean, everybody wants good, dependable, fun entertainment. So um, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's definitely something that I do is try to spread the word that way. And they might not be thinking about telling the other daycare locations about us until you mention it. And again, if you do a good job for them and treat them right, then they will tell other people, other locations.
Yeah. Yeah. And every client that I work with, that's some version of that question I like to ask, of times where they were, literally face to face with a customer and talking about the product or talking about the experience or whatever it might be. And sometimes there'll be one little part of the conversation, like a little gold nugget of an insight of like the way that they described how they interacted with the product or how they experienced the event or whatever it might be. And oftentimes those are the things that you can kind of just like kind of skip over and go, oh, that was great. That was great. They love the product. My job here is done. But then when you kind of press pause and go, oh, okay, well, if they think that way, and we can use that in the messaging for an email campaign or a Facebook ad or a website, that's the kind of stuff where when you're going a million miles an hour, sometimes it could be like it could be really hard to do.
For a certain, I think I mentioned this earlier, but this actually came from a daycare director. When I had a daycare director say, this is great, we don't have to take all the kids in the bus, it's like just an in-house field trip. And so now I put on some of my postcard marketing, like in-house field trip, like, because
Yeah.
I mean, it's what it is, really. I mean, you don't have to go anywhere and pay for buses, which is a lot of money these days. We come to you and we handle everything. We try to stress those things, especially for birthday parties, like, because moms are stressed trying to run their kid's birthday party and think of all the details. Like, we handle everything. Show us where your water hookup and electrical hookup are, and tell us where you want to have the phone party, and then we go take it from there. You don't have to worry about anything. We'll handle everything for that hour that we're with the kids. So
Yeah.
that's another selling point.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it can be just a phrase, the way that the way that a daycare administrator like talks about the event might be a little bit different than how a parent talks about it. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just that slight kind of tweak, if you're using just kind of one somewhat generic message across everybody, it might resonate a little bit less than kind of tailoring it here and there. So
Yeah.
sounds like you were picking up on that like pretty quickly.
When I started, my first set of postcards were generic. I sent the same one to everything from churches, schools, daycares, summer camps. I sent the same one to everybody. Now I break it up and I try to be more specific. with the marketing to cater to wherever I'm sending it. So churches, great for VBS, great for, a church picnic, just kind of cater it to exactly the target market. Schools, it's, perfect for a back to school event, end of school event, an ice cream social, um, you know, graduation parties. So I definitely have tried to narrow that down and hit the target market more specifically
Hmm.
this year, especially. And I think it helps. I mean, it gets you to think about your event and exactly what you're looking for, and make you realize maybe that this is something that would be great for whatever that event may be.
Yeah. Um, and I don't think I asked this yet. The first like full season that you were doing this, what year was that?
Well, this is my third summer, so this is 2025. That would be 2023 was the first
23.
first
Okay.
year. Yeah.
And so have you noticed over the, couple of seasons, um, like repeat customers and having, I'm sure you have a pretty, nice email list, for example, at this point, people who probably follow you on social, ways that you can kind of, build on like some of those relationships.
Yeah, definitely a lot of repeat business, especially with the daycares and summer camps. But there's more repeat business with birthdays, and block parties, especially, than I thought there would be. I thought that
Hmm.
would be like a one and done type thing, but so many times there's people that I've had a phone party for every year for a birthday party,
Yeah.
and block parties even more so, because if they like it, it's like, well, let's do it again this year. It's been a whole year since we've done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot more repeat business as far as on the residential side than I thought it would be, and then on the daycare, summer camp, school side, yeah, once they do one phone party, usually they do it the next year as well. So,
Hmm.
which is awesome because number one, they kind of know what to expect, and obviously they have a trust in us because we've done an event for them before, and it's a lot easier to sell a repeat customer that probably is just coming back to you than it is somebody who
Yeah.
doesn't really know what a phone party is. It's a little more of a hurdle to help
Yeah.
them understand what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Because not only is it a seasonal experience or a service, but daycares, I'm sure, planning out their summer or like summer camps, planning out their week by week like
Hmm.
activities. I mean, they probably do that a little bit ahead of time, so you probably know exactly when to reach back out to them. And then birthdays too. I mean, it's quite literally a specific date on the calendar when somebody's birthday is, and you know roughly when that is from previous parties. So do you have automated like marketing or emails that go out based on that stuff, or do you have like an email list with monthly, quarterly emails? Like how do you maybe more broadly, like what are the channels that you use to kind of stay on top of mind for people?
I'll be honest with you. I don't use our email list enough, and
Yeah.
that's something I need to improve in. But I do like daycares and summer camps. They'll start booking in January, and then most of them are pretty much booked by March or April.
Hmm.
After that, there's a trickle here and a trickle there, but I mean, most of them who are on top of things will, um, you know, coordinate with us to find a date
Yeah.
during those months. If we did a daycare or a summer camp or a school the previous year, and I noticed at that point that they haven't signed up for a party, then I will shoot them an email, encouraging them to um, get on
Yeah.
our schedule. Um, but yeah, I don't utilize our email list enough for sure. I tried to experiment with instantly, and I'll be honest with you, it was a little bit over my head. So uh, I maybe my next step was like try to find somebody on Fiverr to help me with Instantly, but I never got that far, and I just kind of
Yeah.
dropped the idea. But I have ideas for it. I couldn't really figure it out. I'm not, whenever I whenever I want, if my wife tells me I need to do something, sometimes I'll play the I'm just a gym teacher card. Like I don't know, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I've been in marketing for, 18, 19 years, however long it's been. And I still, if I have to be the one going into, like even the simplest email, providers out there, to like manage email lists and automated emails and even like something that should be easy, like Facebook ads, like I just get a little bit overwhelmed and
Well,
frustrated.
yeah.
And I think there's somebody who spends all day, every day, like doing those things. Probably they should be doing it.
Once you start getting into like email warm up and like was it DKIM or something, like I'm like I don't know, like I don't
Yeah.
I don't. I mean it's not something that I have any experience with. So
Yeah. Yeah. But there's a good point in that. It's that, I think even keeping something like really simple, like the simplest version of that. And if you just had like a, somewhat of a like a triggered email that's like, okay, by this date, you kind of know daycares and summer camps and all that. And so if you have
yeah,
some kind of an automated, like a couple, like a sequence of a couple emails, like that can be much simpler to do.
yeah, and that's
But
something I need to do because I mean doing so many things manually myself is a lot with another job and 3 kids. So
yeah.
the more automation that I can figure out how to do, the more it'll take off my plate.
Hmm.
Something that I need to definitely look into because it will lighten my load. But
Yeah. Now, speaking of automation, and like getting stuff off of your plate, that was the next question I had, is the first, for like going from like the first season to the second season, or like year to year, I guess, how much of your time and attention and energy has been sort of offloading stuff on other people? Like, because I mean, you obviously can't you can't go to every single event. That's physically impossible.
yeah,
Did you run into any like challenges doing that? Um,
yeah. To be honest with you, I think our biggest bottleneck is finding enough employees that are willing to. I sound like a boomer saying this, but are willing to give up their Saturdays and work enough. Like we like I can find people that want to do phone parties, but especially the first and second year, I would stress when I interview them, like we need you every Saturday because it's so busy, and we need availability during the week in the mornings for daycares. And then all of a sudden, I think what happened was I would hire them in like March or April, and then I would send them the schedule. But the schedule is a work in progress, and it
mhm.
it fills up. Birthday parties don't fill up until much closer. So I think they see at that point, well, I'm not going to have enough work, and then they find another job, and then
Mm.
they have no availability, and it's just like, oh, like so that like honestly, that's the biggest bottleneck that I feel like we have is we end up having to turn quite a bit of business away. And then some of our um, some of our phone party leaders are teachers that I know, and then some are college students, mostly education majors, which works out because they want to work with kids.
Mhm.
But when the college students go back to school mid August, it's a lot harder and the to fill all the parties. And to be honest with you, the demand mid to late August is just ridiculously high.
Mhm.
So combination of those things are the biggest uh you know bottleneck I think on my end that I can
Mhm.
see. I mean, we get better at it every year, but it's still not where it needs to be. And I need to continue to keep hiring. I've, to be honest with you, there have been several people that have worked for us and they just didn't sign up for enough parties. So
Mhm.
I ended up just taking their setup away and hiring somebody else just because Like you said, I can't
Yeah.
do all the parties myself. And um, I like doing the parties. I really do. I enjoy it. However, I'm needed at home with 3 kids, and my wife has a job as well. So a lot falls on her if I'm going to do a phone party,
Yeah.
uh, which isn't sustainable in the long term. So
Yep. Well, your kids are still pretty young. Maybe they could get out there and run a few parties themselves.
yeah, I'll tell my 4-year-old to.
Yeah, that'd be dangerous.
Yeah.
I got a five. Ours are 5 and 3, and I don't even know if I trust them yet to be in a foam party, let alone run one. So
I mean, I don't even trust my 4-year-old to drink something out of a cup without a cover on it yet. So
yeah,
let alone run.
yeah. Um, but you bring up another thing I was going to ask you about, which is thinking through like where and how you attribute the success of like launching something and having it be sounds like pretty successful right out of the gate, and a lot of the challenges coming from like keeping up with the demand and growing in a kind of responsible way and not too fast because there could be issues with that. Um, in terms of like your brand, what do you think has kind of helped you? And not brand as in like just the name and the logo and the colors, and but like the brand. So you do an event, and all of the parents or the kids or everyone who's there, they kind of walk away with this feeling of, oh, that was a great experience. That person running that event was great. The way that they did this or the way they did that or how my kid feels, like I would say all of that is your brand, and it probably starts with you starting the company and sort of setting the tone and figuring out how you would want to run an event better than competition, because I'm sure at some point you said like other companies probably popped up here and there doing the same thing. So obviously people are going to choose to like hire you over them because of because of the brand. Like how much of that did you think about? Was it just stuff that happened kind of by accident? um, is that something you think about at all?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, because obviously, you want to set yourself apart from the other phone party businesses. When I started,
Yeah.
like I said, there was basically one other. Now there's a lot. Like there's one in my town. There's one in Naperville, the next town over. But like our business is still growing at a good rate. Um, and but yeah, being a PE teacher, it's like I'm pretty much always trying to somewhat entertain kids at elementary school level. High school level, that's not what your job is, but
Yeah.
elementary school level, it's kind of like putting on a show, really,
Mm-hmm.
which translates well to phone parties. We have some other PE teachers working for us as well, and it's kind of a natural. Um, it's natural for them to be in front of kids and kind of be somewhat of a performer. So we might, do a dance, lead the kids in a dance, type of thing, or just different things that we do to try to set ourselves apart. I tried not to skimp at all on our phone party setup. Like I went for all top of the line things, because I wanted to make it a top rate experience and separate us in that way as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, we try to just do a lot of little things as well. Like I'll hand out wristbands with our branding on it, like glow in the dark wristbands to kids. And obviously
Mm-hmm.
they like any kind of trinket that you give them. Obviously it has our marketing on it, which, brings it home from a daycare. So mom and dad knows who to contact
Mm-hmm.
for a phone party. Um, we always, drop off postcards after we're done with like daycares and events like that with the director. When we're saying bye to them, just, hey, if any parents ask, feel free to hand these out. Some will hand them out to like every kid. Some will say, yeah, if anybody asks, I'll hand them out. But, always trying to market and expand and continue to grow. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and you talked about this a little bit. Being a teacher and being around kids for a long time, being really good with kids, being a dad of kids. Like, I'm guessing that probably helps immensely because I can relate. I think going to like events and um, block parties and street festivals and really any kind of an event where there's somebody who's like emceeing, and they're it's almost like they're doing an impression of somebody who's really good with kids. Like there's so much energy, but that's different than somebody who like genuinely knows how to like connect with certain kids. Like if you get kids who are maybe a little scared to participate, how you might pull them out of their shell a little bit, get them involved. Like I imagine there's probably a ton of that you've sort of gotten from over the years that you could apply to running event or probably training people to run events, right?
Yeah, and the voiceover artist that we hired, I tried to make a lot of things plug and play as far as the countdown to the foam party and the
Yeah.
rules of the foam. So that's not all on our foam party leaders to remember and
Mm-hmm.
do that. So a lot of it could be plug and play. We have like a last song voiceover and then an end of the foam party voiceover, which again says, do you want to have another foam party? Talk to your parents and have them get us a business card. It's like constant
Yeah.
plug-in promos. But so part of that, yeah, we try to make it easy on our foam party leaders so that, number one, we know that the rules are being said for
Mm-hmm.
any kind of insurance reasons. If there were, God forbid, an injury,
Mm-hmm.
which we really haven't had issues with, but something to keep in mind. And then just to kind of make it exciting for the kids with the voiceovers, with the countdown, and um, and just kind of set ourselves apart in that way. I forgot the question, but
No, that's fine. You answer it, and it makes me think of other questions because I think you kind of talked about this earlier, like um, the very similar business of like bounce houses, and I just think about where we live now. I mean, we were in Chicago for a bunch of years, but having two little kids, we moved just outside the city, and so there's a lot more just kid friendly, events and stuff in the park and block parties and stuff. And yeah, everywhere you look, like every event has like the big giant bounce house that looks like it's been, you know, dragged through hell over God knows how many years. Kids are well, my kids at least are constantly getting injured. there's the bigger kids bouncing and landing on the little kids, and so um, I definitely could see how the whole phone party thing just becomes like just a vastly different experience, just a different thing that people can try. Like you mentioned, less injuries and probably also ties in with all the insurance and stuff that you have to get.
Mhm.
But what are some of the things that you can think of that you're just like most excited about right now about like the business and being a couple seasons in? Like how far out do you look forward? Um, I imagine the obvious answer is just like steady growth and doing it the right way, where you don't you know run into too many growing pains. But what kind of stuff gets you most excited right now?
Yeah, well, back to the bounce houses, I guess. I have done some marketing that says like skip the boring bounce house, phone party, try a phone party.
Yeah,
Because I mean, it's true. Like every kid has been on a bounce house a lot of
yeah,
times, and like a lot of kids have never done a phone party, so it's somewhat of a novelty to them.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I've done a little bit of marketing, like not really anti bounce house. I mean, a lot of places have both, so that's
yeah,
cool too. But it's definitely something different. But as far as looking forward, yeah, it's tough. Like I'll be honest with you, it's it's a lot between my two jobs and my kids, and depending on the day that you talk to me, I might say, we're gonna keep growing this thing. We're gonna expand to, you know, other areas. Open up another Google business profile and expand. Or some days I'm like, man, like how many years do I want to do this when my kids are, in their
yeah,
prime years, and I don't want to be the guy missing baseball games and stuff like that. So I go back and forth, and that's like, you know, I need to figure that part out. Like, do I keep on the gas pedal, or, where do I want to go? I think just the having young kids is like definitely pulls me. Like, I need to continue to try to remove myself from some of the day-to-day stuff that I have to do, and
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm more available. It's usually not a problem in like May and June, but July and August, like um, it's like all day, every day, sadly. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I go back and forth. I definitely have a plan to grow, but then I also think maybe I should just kind of try to remove myself and not try to grow as fast
Mm-hmm.
to try to balance out the home side of things.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's a lot of founders that I talk to and people running businesses. I mean, that's one of the most common things I feel like that comes up is any kind of a business. Like it's even if it's from the outside doesn't look like it's full time. I mean, you're thinking about it all the time. You kind of can't turn that off.
Hmm.
And then oftentimes you are actually working on it all the time, and so that that can that can be a grind for sure. Um, Getting back to some of the questions I had, um, it, and again, this entire kind of episode is a little bit unique because a lot of the founders that I talk to are not juggling basically two full-time jobs. They're
Yeah.
really focused on one thing. So um, I guess for people who are more looking at maybe starting a business, who might be in similar shoes that as you, what like what advice would you give to them? What was like a hard lesson that you had to learn the hard way that you would turn into advice for people?
Uh, I mean, the hard lesson I think would be, and I'm still trying to figure it out, but just you can't do everything all the time. So you need to try to automate and or delegate whatever you can. It's a work in progress at my end. We're still growing, but I'm still stretched pretty thin at times. But that's something that you need to think about. Obviously, it's somewhat of a good problem to have because we're growing. Um, but you have to be able to find somewhat of a balance between your home life and work life.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Um, Anything else that you can think of? I mean, right now, if people are curious about the type of business that you've created, or even people that are interested in just learning more about what you guys offer, or just learning more about like how you've started your business, what are some other ways that people can find you, get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you go to our website, foampartyallstars.com, my email address is on there. Support at foampartyallstars.com is my main one. I'm always open to answer questions for people. I would say, though, like a word of caution, like before you start a similar business, you really want to research your area and what the competition looks like. Because again, part of our success, I feel like, is that there wasn't very much competition at the time. And we're in a pretty wealthy area here in the Chicago suburbs. If you are in a poor area and there's five other places doing the same thing, I probably wouldn't do it. But if you see the opportunity, I mean, it might not be a bad idea to look into it and try to learn as much as you can about it and launch something yourself. I like to throw it because I've had even relatives in other states that are like, oh, I want to start this, and then sometimes I have to tell them to pump the brakes and do some research first before they spend thousands of dollars on a phone party setup. Um, just to know what you're getting into and see if it's a good situation.
Hmm.
But I'm definitely, willing to talk people through it if they want to know more.
Yeah.
I think I've shared a decent amount during this podcast,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk to other people.
Yeah, and you were on the other podcast. Remind me the name of that podcast if
Uh,
people want to find it.
yeah, Side Hustle Nation with Nick Loper.
Yep.
So there's an episode on there. I don't remember the episode number, but I'm sure if you type in my name into Google, it probably pops up. But
Yeah. Yeah.
or Phone Party All Stars.
Yeah. Cool. And then just kind of thinking back, if it's sort of the inverse of, I think, of the last question is like, if there's anything you could kind of go back and like things you wish you would have done differently. Anything come to mind? That's probably
Good
putting you
one.
on the spot.
No, that's a good one. Uh, Hopefully you can edit my thinking here, but what would I do differently? Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done. I think, and I've tried to do this, but like try to stay ahead of the demand on my side. Um, and I've tried to keep my foot on the gas with that as much as possible, but every year it hurts my heart to turn away parties because I don't have enough people to run them in certain busy times like now, like,
Yeah.
mid to late August. Just always trying to stay a step ahead. And I've thought that way, but I mean, sometimes I feel like, man, I should have taken another step ahead. I mean, granted, that's kind of a luxury. One luxury about starting up this business is I have a full time job, so I have a paycheck coming in W-2, and my wife does. So, um, if if we weren't making a ton of money, it wouldn't really be that big of a deal on our end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, yes, I'm not to say that I haven't put a lot of money into the business and reinvested it into the business, once it got started, but it wouldn't, if we had to stop it, it wouldn't be like a financial catastrophe on our
Yeah.
end. So,
Yeah.
which is nice. It takes pressure off to a certain extent.
Yep. And then last question. Um, any and this is very similar to a previous question, but I'm trying to make it more specific because I think a lot of the other people who are like on this podcast and people who probably listen to it are creating businesses. They're very different, but they're still trying to reach parents uh, and kids and organizations that are the ways that they would like actually reach parents and kids. What advice would you have just specifically on creating a business and maybe it's doing marketing or just building a business with parents in mind? Is there anything that you could think of that feels particularly insightful that might help people who are trying
Yeah.
to do that?
I mean, I guess for parents, for like booking residential parties, just know your target audience. Like, I don't market towards dads. I rarely talk to dads. It's, not to be stereotypical. It's just what I've found in our experience. Like 98% of the people that end up booking a party with us are moms on like the birthday side. Um, and I think of, being a dad too. Like my wife does most of the party planning. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of how it is. And then on our side, we get there and the dad is asking me like, is this going to kill my grass? Like every time, like every single time, like, I don't even know what my wife booked, but is this going to kill my grass? Um, so yeah, I mean, just know your target audience. I feel like it's not super easy to reach. I mean, Facebook ads to a certain extent, but I feel like once Facebook ads changed, I don't know what year it was, and from what I understand, you can't target people by where they live. It's like wherever they visit, essentially. So, like a lot of times, I'll try to target somebody around us, and then I'll get people from Indiana, Wisconsin that might have traveled through, and it's like,
Mm,
oh man, this is kind of a waste.
yeah.
Um, but as far as the daycare side and like business side, like don't be afraid of snail mail marketing. Yeah, it can be somewhat costly, but like with our events, the floor price is $375, and most of the daycares are doing more than an hour. So yeah, I might spend $1,000 mailing out postcards, but I mean, my return on investment is going to be a lot more than that. So don't be afraid to. Sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and if you think you're going to build a business and just put up a website and people are going to flock to you. It's not really how that happens, which obviously, from a marketing perspective. You have to do the work to get people to your site, get people to call you. And then in our case, to try to somewhat educate them about the product, which is phone party service, which is phone parties, because most people don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And we actually didn't talk about that very much, like the educational part of it. How often are you just like running into people who are, in theory, a very good potential customer, but they just have no idea what a phone party is? I mean, you kind of joked around earlier, like phone parties, like in college, that was like spring break, in
Yeah.
some dirty bar in Florida. Like that was my exposure to phone
Yeah.
parties. So like how often are you running into that where you have to do that kind of education, and how much of like the marketing does that, content marketing, and how much is
Yeah.
just like manual, just like educating people?
I mean, in our marketing, I try to make sure a few things. Like a lot of times I'll use the phrase like, we bring a phone party to you, so that they realize this is like traveling to your location. And then I'll, lay out the things that we provide. Like we'll bring speakers and kid-friendly music, a phone party leader that will, handle everything and, lead everything. The kids will explore in the phone type thing like that. And then, our website, which it's driving to, most of the marketing is trying to funnel to our website, tries to succinctly fill in the gaps there and explain a little bit more about what our phone parties do. We have a video on there that kind of shows a phone party, obviously, and then some pictures. But a lot of times people still call and they'll have, questions. It's usually some of the same questions like, do you play music? Yeah, we play music. We have a kid friendly playlist depending on age group. We even have a voiceover artist that, does a countdown to the foam and rules of the foam and everything like that. And then, is this going to kill my grass? No, it's not going to kill your grass.
For all the dads out there who are
Yeah, we do.
curious.
No, exactly. We do. Yeah, my husband's worried about killing the grass. Yeah, no, you can tell him we don't recommend over an hour on grass, just because um, it's about 125 gallons of water in an hour, and the combination of kids moving around on it. If you extend it over an hour, like 2 hours, yes, it'll get muddy. It doesn't kill it; it comes back, but we recommend only an hour on grass. If it's 2 hours, we would recommend a harder surface. Those are like two of the biggest questions, or just straight up like, tell me about what you do with a phone party. Like, what does that mean? So
Yeah.
those are a lot of the questions. But a lot of times people like go through the website and just submit a form to book, and no call, no anything, and just even if they haven't had a phone party through us before. So hopefully that's the website kind of doing its job and
Yeah.
educating them on, including the FAQs on anything they need to know.
Yep. Cool. Well, Tim, I appreciate you setting aside a few minutes to chat. I know, August, it's August, August 4th right now. So very much you're busy
Prime time, yeah.
season. So appreciate you setting aside some time. I was really happy when I heard you on that other podcast, and how great things were going and how much you were growing. And we haven't caught up in a while, so I thought it was a good chance for us to chat.
Yeah.
Get caught up, but let's get together in person soon and
Yep, absolutely.
get the families together. And I mean, I think since we've seen each other last, we both have probably a couple new kids.
I was actually driving through your town Friday, I think.
Yeah.
Because I had a phone party in the area, and I was like, oh man, I wonder where Dan lives from here. But
Yeah. Well, if I see any phone party setups, I'll check in real quick to see see if I notice the logo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great catching up. Let's get together soon, and continued success on the business.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Tim.